So I just want to briefly introduce who we are and what we do. My name is Danny Panzella Velez. This is my wife, Vanessa Velez Panzella. And we are from sovereignlove.nyc. We have a podcast on the Conscious Resistance Network called Sovereign Love Stream. It is a relationships, sex, and psychedelic podcast. So we talk about how we were in a completely toxic relationship and how we use different healing modalities, including meditation, but also including nonviolent communication, psychedelics like psilocybin mushrooms and ayahuasca, among many others. And we're just sharing our stories. We're not like gurus or relationship coaches per se. We're just sharing our experiences, how we were able to heal ourselves and find balance within ourselves and in our relationship, and just kind of share those stories with people. And it seems to have really resonated. So we were featured on the Today Show last year, and it went so viral that we said, "Oh well, I guess people like this content. Let's start a podcast." And it went, it's been really successful. So if you're interested in that, check us out. Want to introduce what we're going to talk about?
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Vanessa. For me. So today we're talking about spiritual sovereignty, and we wanted to bring in, we're kind of in this holistic space. We're talking about body sovereignty. We're talking about mindfulness. So when we're discussing spiritual sovereignty, what we're really talking about is owning your own power. So a lot of us want sovereignty and we are ready to fight for it. We're ready to stand up for it. And what we really want to share with you all is how we're in the process of embodying our sovereignty through our spiritual consciousness. And for us, that means as a society, we have so many different sources coming into us. We have media, we have government, we have our parents, we have just society in general telling us what to do, what not to do, what to eat, what not to eat. Like one day gluten is bad, another day you eat gluten. One day meat is bad, another day meat is essential for survival. So what ends up happening is we start losing touch with our own intuition, with our we know what we need. Our bodies are very intelligent beings. We have the gut brain, which is, scientifically proven to be highly superior. So we know what we need, and we are so out of touch with that at times that we are easily swayed in any direction. Whether you're afraid of COVID or you're afraid of the government, either way, when you're operating from a place of fear, you're not in your sovereignty. And in order to come back to that, we do need mindfulness practices. We need ways in which we kind of connect to ourselves, so we can tap back into that intuition, that power that we already embody. We're just kind of out of touch with it. We're out of touch with listening to what we really want. Sometimes we do things that we don't feel comfortable with, and we just accept that that's life. I worked for many years, a 9 to 5 job, super stressed out, super unhappy. I would come home every night, have wine or alcohol, whatever it was, to numb down the uncomfortableness of the life that I was living. And that was another way of numbing my own intuition. My body was telling me you're not happy. I was sick all the time. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was operating on 2-3 hours of sleep because I had horrible insomnia. And I was so out of touch. My body was screaming at me, this is not good for you. This is not the life for you. And I didn't know how to accept it because society says if you have a 9 to 5 job that pays you a great salary, you've got it made. What are you so miserable about? And the more I started paying attention to myself, to my body, to my intuition, the happier I became. And it's, sometimes we feel a little bit guilty saying this, but last year was one of the best years of our lives. And we didn't have the news on 24/7. We weren't listening to see what in what ways COVID was out to get us or in what ways the government was out to get us. We were just enjoying the peace. Everything went silent. I mean, this is New York City. You guys are here listening to how loud everything is out here. But for once, it was quiet. And once it got quiet, it got really interesting for us because we started listening to ourselves. We started listening to what made us happy, what brought us joy, and we experienced the best year of our lives, I think. So we want to kind of share today how we kind of got on that path and some tips that are helpful to us that might be helpful to you. So I'm going to pass it on to you. So.
You know, I mentioned before that me and Derek have been doing activism for over 10 years. And for a long time in my activist career, I was really angry. And I was angry at what tyranny was coming down the line. I mean, 10 years ago, we were talking about a lot of this stuff that's just now finally being implemented with COVID as the pretext. But for a long time, I was really angry. And that anger was not helping me in my relationship, it was not helping me in my heart. So I think as activists, we have to be really careful to care for ourselves first before thinking we can save the world. Before we think we can wake everybody up and save everybody else, we really have to focus on ourselves first. It's the cliche, which is true, of putting your mask on, your oxygen mask on first before you help someone else. So for me, I had to do a lot of internal work to recognize that it's kind of like the serendipity prayer. Give me the strength to change the things that I can, but also to accept the things that I can't change and not allow the anger over those things to consume me. Because we can be, you can be free physically, right? You can be an agorist and live off the grid, you can move to the woods, but if you're not free in here because while you're in the woods, you're looking at Facebook and all the terrible news and you're angry about it, you're not really free. So we love to encourage people to seek freedom first from inside so that you can be at peace. And then you can approach the challenges that come with government tyranny or corporate tyranny with the confidence and the strength of I'm at peace and I know what I'm going to do. I know whether or not I want to take the vaccine or not take the vaccine. And I really don't even have much of an opinion about whether or not people should take the vaccine or not. I think it's a personal decision, and I'm perfectly fine with people who choose to get it, and I'm perfectly fine with people who choose not to. So it's not so much a matter of what decisions you're making as if you are at peace with those decisions. There may be people that want to take the vaccine, and the one caution I would say is don't take it if you're nervous about taking it, because I think you may manifest like bad symptoms, side effects. If you really believe you're going to get it and you're just doing it out of fear and you're out of balance, you may manifest exactly what you're afraid of. That's an unfortunate not side effect, but principle of the law of attraction, which I believe in. Whether you want to call it karma or what. I have to refer to my notes because if not, we'll be up here for hours. And Eric, make sure you let us know when the time's running out. So you don't want to react as a victim, right? I'm a victim to the circumstances of the government around me, what restrictions are being put in place, what's being forced on me. I manifest my own reality. I'm not a victim to anything. I may have to come up with creative solutions to deal with certain things. Right now in Brooklyn, we're not vaccinated. We're not allowed in restaurants. We're not allowed in theaters. I never went to the gym anyway, so that doesn't affect my life. But, so we have to do creative things. We have to eat outside for now, which is going to, or make our own food, which is cheaper and healthier. We know what we're putting into our bodies. So that's like a proactive way that I'm not going to be a victim and just sit at home and cry, oh, I'm not allowed, government won't allow me in restaurants.
Or find a way.
Today we had a delicious meal that Miriam and Ramiro cooked for us, and it was beautiful, very clean, organic food, and it was delicious. And we really can't, I mean, there are some places you can get better at it, but want to take it?
And kind of speaking to the reality that we want to create. We live in New York, right? And if you listen to the news, I mean, we were laughing at the fact that people were like, "How are you still living in New York? It's horrible there. It's chaos. The crime is horrible. People can't go out in the streets anymore." And we were hanging out at the park all day, every day last year. We had, like I said, we had a fantastic year. We got to take walks in the park. We were already homeschooling, so our schooling situation didn't change. We just experienced so much joy. We didn't fight with anybody. Nobody fought with us. We walked pretty much maskless anywhere, and nobody stops us to say, "Hey, why aren't you wearing a mask?" Or I'm sure there might be people that may step away from us, and that's okay. If they don't feel comfortable with us, that's not a problem. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my decision because I'm at peace with the decision that I've made.
And so we don't take it personally when someone else doesn't wants to stay 6 feet away. That's fine. That's your
yeah, we have no problem again respecting anybody's decisions. But again, all of that comes from that peace within. And Danny does work in people's homes, and he's watched people sitting there with the news on for hours and hours and hours. And yeah, if you're sitting there listening to the news for hours and hours and hours, you're gonna get freaked out. There's no doubt about it. And so it's very important to look at our habits. How do you start the day? So for us, we start the day in a ritual form. Whether it's drinking a glass of water, whether it's making our coffee, although we are keeping our coffee habit. We're switching to cacao in the morning. But whatever it is, our first drink of the morning is done in ritual. We set intentions for the day. It's a ceremony. We start each day as a ceremony. And when you start each day as a ceremony, you have no choice but to face each person that you encounter in a respectful way, right? Because now you're in ceremony. I'm in ceremony today, so I cannot be offensive to somebody else. And at the same time, I don't allow them to hurt me because I'm protected at all times, because I'm in a space of peace, I'm in a space of love, I'm in a space of compassion. If I walk into a store without a mask, with an air of defiance, with like ready to fight whoever tells me something, it's going to show on my face. It's going to show in my body language, and people are going to feel it. And what are they going to do? They're going to react the way I'm expecting them to react. But if I walk into a store maskless, like nothing happened, just a normal day at the store, I'm buying my groceries, and I smile at the person in front of me, half the time, I don't think they even realize I'm not wearing a mask. They're just like, "Wow, she smiled at me." And they'll smile back through their mask. You can just kind of see by the eye and then the facial expressions that they are smiling back, and that's it. That's as far as the interaction goes. And sometimes people start realizing, oh, it's safe, it's okay, nothing's going on. And sometimes that leads to conversations. Oh my God, how have you been holding up in the pandemic? Oh, well, we've had the best year of our lives. How is that? And so, we can open up conversations from this place of empowerment and not from this place of trying to preach to people that the world is coming to an end and we have to do everything in our power to stop it, because that adds to the panic, that adds to the fear. And when we make decisions out of fear, we start making irrational decisions. We start making decisions that do not have compassion for our neighbor, for our friends and family. And the truth is, the more you start speaking up from a place of joy, the more people are willing to say, "Oh yeah, I feel the same way." If you come in here like the government's trying to do this, and that, sometimes people are going to be like, "Yeah, well, I'm not out here conspiracy theory, so I'm not going to, I'm just going to stay shut."
I'm not chewing on.
Exactly.
Apparently, anybody that questions the government now must be chewing on or a Trump supporter.
But
Strange.
But if you're coming from a place of, I just take care of myself, I eat healthy, I take my vitamins, I, wash my hands, I have basic hygiene, the majority of people are like, yeah, me too, and there's no reason to be afraid. And then it starts to spread a little bit easier. We're not meeting resistance that much. And remember, what you resist persists. So the more that we're in resistance with people, the more that we want to argue with people, the more likely they're going to fight back and stand in their choices, regardless of how they feel.
They're going to become defensive and want to defend their position rather than be
open and listen to whatever message you're sharing. That actually brings up another really great point. I wanted to say two things. One about starting the day with gratitude. Gratitude is a great way to, it's an easy way to get into a good mood and start your day that way. So just, what are you thankful for? I'm thankful that I wake up every day next to this page. So I can literally just roll over and be thankful immediately. But even in the midst of the pandemic, you know, for a year, there were a lot less cars on the road, and that brown haze over New York City started to dissipate. The sky was blue again. I'm grateful for that. You know, I don't want to stop anybody's freedom from driving. I don't want to, I don't want environmental authoritarianism. But at the same time, I can appreciate that we got a little break from the pollution, right? So you can find, even in things that may not seem like a good thing at first, you may be able to find things within that that you can be grateful for. I'm grateful for the government tyranny because it's waking so many people up. It's so obvious at this point. The corporate media and the CDC just contradict themselves and each other constantly. They say follow the science, and then they act like if you're vaccinated, you can't spread it to anybody. The science says you can. So what are you talking about? I see people walking around with shirts, I got vaccinated, you're welcome. Well, it doesn't help me. It's going to suppress your symptoms if it works, hopefully, and I pray that it does for you. But it's not helping me. You can still spread it to me. So what do you like? The arrogance. I'm going to get on a rant. I don't like that. Gratitude. So, find the gratitude. So, but I am grateful that all of this hypocrisy is now so obvious that a lot of people are really starting to see it and question things. And you know what? It's not always the most vocal people. I'm in my neighborhood group, and I am like, everybody hates me, except for I have a few people that agree with me. They won't agree with me in public, but they'll send me a message once in a while privately. I saw what you said there. I really agree. But if I post something that dares question masks or vaccine policy, any of the authoritarianism, they all pile on top of me. And they're just the loudest voices. I don't believe that they're really representative, the people on social media. I don't believe that they're really representative because we still have, I feel like there's enough resistance. Look, Southwest Airlines just decided they're not going to do a vaccine mandate. The media was saying for days, it's a conspiracy theory that the pilots are protesting vaccines. Well, they canceled thousands of flights due to weather. No other airline canceled the flights. But now all of a sudden they announced, we're not going to do a vaccine mandate. I'm sure that has nothing to do with the fact that the pilots didn't show up for work and they had to ground 1,000 flights. Right? So I'm grateful for that aspect of things getting worse. So if we can look at it that way, find that silver lining, it's a little bit easier. And then we can be, cool. So yeah, who of my friends has the potential to wake up? Who was not into it before, not open before, but now start listening to the things they're saying. And you may find the openings. Can I give you some more information about that? All right. I am complete.
I think I am too. Just going back to what we started off with, this all starts from within. It's important to do our work, to look at where our fears are, to look at where our biases are, so that we are making empowered decisions and not decisions out of fear, not decisions where we want to control others. Even in trying to help others wake up is a mechanism of control. Sometimes we have to let people be on their path, and that's okay. Maybe they're meant to be that way. Maybe they're meant to go through whatever it is that they're going to go through. And we can just sit back and do our own thing and be there for them when they're ready to wake up. And we can only do that if we've taken care of ourselves, like Danny said at the beginning. So that's our message. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening.